Hey, it's Mark here, and welcome to the next edition of the Employee Survival Guide, where I tell you, as always, what your employer does definitely not want you to know about, and a lot more.
Welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us this whole stack of documents, court filings, sworn statements, even a judge's recommendation.
A lot of paper.
A lot of paper. And our mission today is to really cut through all that legal language, to give you a clear look at how a federal court actually analyzes a hostile work environment claim, especially one that moves this fast.
And the speed is really the headline here. The case is Ghiorse v. John H. Cook Jr., Painting Contractor, Inc. And it's it's a perfect study in rapid escalation. We're talking about a federal lawsuit that comes out of an employment period of just 14 days.
2 weeks?
2 weeks of work. That's it. And it immediately jumps to litigation under both federal and New York state law.
Okay, so let's dive into the facts. The plaintiff is Charlotte Ghiorse. The documents describe her as a journeyman painter, 30 years of experience. So she's not new to this.
No, absolutely not. She's a professional. And her entire job with this painting company working at Cornell University lasted from June 1st to June 14th, 2023. That's it.
The contrast there is, well, it's pretty jarring. A 30-year career versus a 2-week job.
Right. And according to her complaint, the hostility started, literally the moment she walked on the site. She alleges and this is a quote, nonstop sexually loaded conversation and a hostile working environment from day one.
And she didn't just let it slide. I think that's really key here. She says she immediately confronted them, saying something like, "This is my place of work. Stop talking like that."
Which is exactly what you're supposed to do, right? You establish a boundary.
Sure.
But the complaint alleges that instead of stopping, it just got worse. The comments became explicitly vulgar and humiliating. And these are the specific, ugly details that a court has to weigh.
Let's get into a few of those examples because they are so central to the case. Ghiorse claimed that on her very first day at lunch, someone compared her phone to a sanitary napkin.
Right. And then there was this repeated phrase, douche flute, which she found incredibly offensive.
But this isn't just, guys being crude. It goes beyond that, doesn't it?
Oh, it absolutely does, especially when it's allegedly encouraged by a supervisor. She names her supervisor, Jerry, and says he instigated and encouraged all of this.
And he's the one who allegedly said that women don't belong here.
Exactly. And that statement right there, that's what shifts this from just, vulgar talk into clear, explicit gender discrimination.
So if you're the judge reading this, you've got an allegation of a toxic, sexist environment being actively promoted by a supervisor.
But allegations are just one part of it. What makes this initial filing so compelling is the corroboration. You've got sworn statements from 2 former coworkers, Alex Stevens and Tevin McGill.
And that is a huge deal.
It's a huge legal advantage. Getting coworkers to go on the record in these cases is, it's famously difficult.
So what did they say?
Stevens says he saw several instances of harassment, and he called the comments inappropriate and sexist. But more importantly, he confirmed hearing Jerry say that women shouldn't be on the job site. That's direct evidence from the supervision level.
Okay. And McGill's statement, that one takes it even further. It has a detail in it that is pretty shocking.
It really is. McGill confirms hearing vulgar and demeaning comments, these sexual discrimination rants. But then he provides this direct, incredibly sexualized quote from Jerry about Ghiorse. He says he heard Jerry say she's just jealous because no one wants to fuck her pussy.
Wow. That just takes it to a whole other level. It's personal, it's aggressive, it's humiliating.
Precisely. And that specific quote is actually cited by the judge as being central to the case's severity. Ghiorse herself says this whole environment made her feel, and this is her word, terrorized.
Terrorized. So she was concerned for her safety, her mental health.
That's the subjective part of the claim, how it made her feel.
And then the conflict shifts. It moves toward retaliation, a threat to her actual paycheck.
Yes, and this also started almost immediately. It's a strategic shift. When the harassment didn't stop, the focus allegedly turned to her livelihood. She was smart. She went to her union boss, Dan Jackson, and he confirmed, look, your pay cannot be decreased. You're in the union. You have a set contract rate.
So she had that protection. She knew her rights. But her supervisor, Jerry, he allegedly just kept pushing.
Doubled down. The complaint says he screamed at her, quote, "It is absolutely within my right and the company's right to reduce your wages."
Which seems designed to intimidate her, regardless of the rules.
Absolutely. And when she finally resigned, told him June 14th would be her last day, that's when he allegedly went on a screaming tirade about "it's women like you," and made even more harassing comments.
And this is where the evidence becomes, well, pretty much undeniable, because she was apparently recording their conversation.
She was. And that audio transcript, it just captures the entire dynamic. Jerry's first move is just denial and deflection.
Total denial.
Yeah. She brings up the douche flute comment, and he just explodes. He calls it sexual harassment. It's fucking bullshit. He claims the whole thing is so blown out of proportion.
And he tries to shut down the conversation.
He does. He says, "I don't want to talk to you anymore, because then we'll hear about the sexual harassment." It's a classic gaslighting move, right?
What?
Accuse the victim of overreacting.
Right. And the judge noted that response. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an investigation. It was just immediate, aggressive denial.
But then, and this is what makes the transcript so powerful, he pivots to her performance.
He tries to justify the threats after the fact.
Exactly. He says the job is super easy because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. He then claims that doing 16 rooms in 3 days isn't good enough because they're supposed to get that in 1 day.
So he's creating a pretext. Harassment, followed by complaints, then retaliation disguised as a performance issue.
It creates this perfectly integrated narrative for the court.
And she confronts him on the demotion threat, right? She asks him directly.
She does. She asks, "I'm sorry, I heard you were threatening to demote me." Right. That is not even legal. And his response, captured on the audio, is just one word.
It's the word.
Abso-fucking-lutely. That one word. On tape. It's direct evidence of a threat of a tangible employment action. And that is a huge deal legally.
Okay, so she's got this incredibly strong stack of evidence. She files the lawsuit herself, pro se, seeking $100,000 in damages. Now the court has to weigh all of this.
Correct. And the first step is that two-part test under Title VII for a hostile work environment.
Which is
First, was the environment subjectively abusive to her? And second, was it objectively hostile? Would a reasonable person find it severe or pervasive?
The subjective part seems like a slam dunk, with her testimony of feeling terrorized.
Absolutely. But it's the objective standard that's often the harder one to meet.
And this is where all her specific evidence comes in.
Exactly. The court pointed to the frequency, nonstop from day one, the severity, especially that quote from McGill, and the fact that it interfered with her work. The judge found that it was all plausible enough to meet that objective standard.
So the main claim survives. The case against the company, John H. Cook, Jr. Painting Contractor, Inc., gets to move forward.
It does. Initially, it's based on a negligence theory, meaning the company should have known about the harassment and failed to stop it.
But here's where we get to the, I guess you could call it the aha moment of this deep dive. The claims against the individuals, Supervisor Jerry and the co-owner, John Cook, they were recommended for dismissal.
Right, and for very different, very nuanced reasons. This is where state and federal law really diverge.
Let's start with the federal law, Title VII. Why were the claims against Jerry and Cook just immediately thrown out under that statute?
Because Title VII doesn't allow for individual liability. It's that simple. The law only targets the employer as an entity. So if you want to sue an individual person, you have to use state or local laws. Those federal claims were dead on arrival.
Okay, but New York state law, the NYSHRL, does allow for individual liability. So why were those claims also in trouble?
This is where being a pro se litigant gets incredibly difficult. To hold Jerry liable under state law, Ghiorse had to plead that he was a supervisor in the legal sense.
Which isn't just someone who tells you what to do.
Not at all. A legal supervisor is someone who can take tangible employment actions.
Like hiring, firing, promoting, cutting your pay.
Precisely. They have the actual power to change your job status. And while Ghiorse called him the supervisor and had him on tape threatening her pay, but because she also included the fact that her union boss said her pay couldn't be cut, it created a legal ambiguity. The court said her complaint didn't sufficiently establish that Jerry had the actual authority to carry out his threat.
So even with abso-fucking-lutely on tape, the technical pleading wasn't quite there. The court, for now, had to treat him like just another coworker.
It's the core legal snag.
Yeah.
She had the facts, but she didn't frame them to meet that very narrow legal definition. It's a tough hurdle for anyone without a lawyer.
And what about the co-owner, John Cook? He definitely has authority. Why were the claims against him also on the chopping block?
Because the complaint didn't connect him to any specifically discriminatory act. It just said he screamed at her while she was on a ladder.
Which is bad management, but not necessarily illegal discrimination.
Exactly. The court said she didn't explain what he screamed or why it was motivated by her gender. There wasn't enough detail.
So to sum it up, as of this order, the company is facing the lawsuit, but the individuals are, for the moment, off the hook.
But, and this is important, the court gave her a lifeline. Recognizing she was representing herself, the judge granted her leave to amend. She gets another chance to fix the complaint.
A do-over.
A do-over. She can add more facts about Jerry's actual power. Did he have hiring and firing authority? And she can add specific details about what Cook screamed at her. If she does that successfully, those individual claims could come right back into play.
This whole deep dive it highlights how critical hard evidence is. Those coworker statements, that audio recording, they made all the difference in getting the main claim through the door. But it's clearly not that simple.
What's so striking here is how good Ghiorse was at collecting the raw evidence, but how a really strong claim can still stumble over a technical legal definition. And for you listening to this, just consider the challenge for any employee. Documenting harassment is only half the battle. The other half is navigating these very narrow legal standards, like what supervisor authority actually means. And it really raises a provocative question, doesn't it? If the legal definitions are this specific, does it incentivize companies to maybe keep their management structures vague or their supervisors poorly trained, just to limit the possibility of anyone being held individually liable?
If you like the Employee Survival Guide, I'd really encourage you to leave a review. We try really hard to produce information to you that's informative, that's timely, that you can actually use and solve problems on your own and at your employment. So if you'd like to leave a review anywhere you listen to our podcast, please do so. And leave 5 stars, because anything less than 5 is really not as good, right? I'll keep it up. I'll keep the standards up. I'll keep the information flowing at you. If you'd like to send me an email and ask me a question, I'll actually review it and post it on there. You can send it to mcarey@capclaw.com. That's capclaw.com.